That's a phrase I think a lot of people with fibromyalgia have probably heard, or maybe even thought to themselves when some bizarre new symptom just pops up out of nowhere. So, when you hear fibromyalgia, your brain probably jumps straight to widespread pain and, of course, chronic fatigue. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving into a whole other side of this condition. We're talking about the strange, the confusing, all the symptoms that almost nobody ever brings up.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start by going way beyond the basics and look at 3 different types of these lesser-known symptoms. Then we're going to dig into why this stuff isn't common knowledge, and we'll wrap up with a really powerful takeaway. Let's do this.
Okay, so pain, fatigue, fibrofog. Yep, we know them. Those are the headliners, right? But there's this whole other kind of underground club of symptoms that can honestly make you question your own sanity. And this quote just nails it. It's not just about the pain we expect, it's the sheer unpredictability of it all. One day, it's a familiar ache, and the next, your body throws a total curveball at you that is definitely not in any of the pamphlets. And that leads us right into our first category, the symptoms you feel like really intensely, but have absolutely no outward signs. These are the ones that can make you feel so incredibly isolated because to everybody else, you look perfectly fine. Just look at these. They're so specific, but also so bizarre. Phantom swelling, where your hands feel like balloons, but a doctor looks and sees nothing. Or burning mouth syndrome. You'd swear you have a dental issue, but the dentist says you're fine. And those internal tremors, the feeling of a phone buzzing inside you, or your skin crawling. It's deeply unsettling. And because it's totally invisible, it's so easy for people to just write it off as anxiety.
All right, next up, symptoms that come directly from the nervous system going haywire. See, fibromyalgia doesn't just mess with your muscles. It's like it plays havoc with your body's entire electrical grid, and that leads to some really, really strange signals.
The thing that really defines these is just how random they are. One minute, you feel a sharp, static-like jolt out of nowhere. The next, you just drop your coffee cup because your grip, well, it just vanished. We're not talking about huge, dramatic events here, but a constant stream of tiny, confusing misfires from your own body. And I absolutely love this analogy for explaining those random numb spots. It's perfect, right? It just captures that feeling of being disconnected. A part of you just suddenly goes offline. No warning, no explanation. It's such a brilliant way to describe a sensation that's otherwise so hard to put into words. Okay, our next section is what the source cleverly calls the junk drawer. And it's exactly what it sounds like. This is for all those random symptoms that don't really fit into a neat category, but are a very, very real part of the fibro experience for so many people. So, first thing out of the junk drawer is the gut. Can you imagine a food you've eaten your whole life suddenly becomes your mortal enemy? Or getting intense cramps that feel exactly like an IBS flare, but every single test comes back normal? It's just a state of constant digestive chaos. Then there's sleep, or, as the source puts it, something like it. And this goes way beyond just feeling tired. We're talking about genuinely terrifying experiences, like sleep paralysis, where your mind is wide awake but your body is completely frozen. Or those nightly hypnic jerks that make it impossible to actually fall asleep. And then you've got the hormonal roller coaster, which just adds another layer of total confusion. Think sudden hot flashes, even if you're nowhere near menopause, weight that goes up and down for no reason, and all kinds of other signs that your body's signals are just totally out of whack. And finally, the last thing in our junk drawer is just pure sensory overload. Imagine your senses are turned up to 11 all the time. A whiff of perfume from down the street triggers a massive migraine. A fork clinking on a plate sounds like an explosion. Your skin even has what looks like allergic reactions to absolutely nothing. It's a constant state of just being overwhelmed by the world. So, after hearing all of that, I bet a huge question is forming in your mind. If all these symptoms are real, why on earth aren't they common knowledge? Well, it turns out there are a few key reasons. I mean, this is the question, isn't it? If your body is behaving this erratically, you want answers from the professionals. You don't want to be dismissed or gaslit. So, why the silence? And here are the reasons laid out plain and simple. For a lot of these symptoms, the research just isn't there yet. And because they're not in the standard textbooks, they're not widely recognized. Plus, a lot of doctors are still working with a pretty outdated 1990s era understanding of fibromyalgia. And let's just be honest, they're weird. And that makes them really easy to dismiss. Okay, this brings us to what I think is the most important part of this whole explainer. After going through this entire circus of symptoms, the final takeaway isn't about fear or confusion. It's about validation. It's about community. When you get right down to it, what all this means is that our definition of fibromyalgia just has to be broader. It's not some simple checklist. It is a complex, shifting spectrum of experiences that can feel so isolating precisely because they're so strange. And this right here is the core message. For anyone out there who has felt that internal buzzing or the sting of a burning tongue and wondered, is this just me? Am I going crazy? The answer is a powerful, resounding no. These experiences are real, they are shared, and they are part of the story. So that brings us to our final thought. Knowledge is power, right? Knowing that this huge range of symptoms is actually part of the fibromyalgia experience, well, that doesn't just give you comfort, it gives you a tool. So the real question becomes, how can this information help you advocate for yourself and maybe change the whole conversation you're having around your own health? It's definitely something worth thinking about.